Today, my cabinet colleagues and I met to discuss Canada's response to the latest developments in the trade crisis. Yesterday, in the latest salvo in his trade war, President Trump again imposed unjustified tariffs on our nation in violation of our existing trade agreements. This time, he targeted the auto industry and the more than 500,000 hardworking, dedicated Canadians that industry supports across our country. Now, the President of the United States is trying to fundamentally restructure his economy. It means our economy, and it means the global economy as well. And I understand and respect his goal to support American workers, but I disagree with him that this is how to help them. With time, it will become apparent that these actions will end up hurting American workers and American consumers. And our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect, and to build. We will fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impacts here in Canada. We will protect our workers and our industries during this difficult period. But above all, we will build a new Canadian economy. We will build Canada strong. Se battre pour nos travailleurs, protéger notre économie et nos concitoyens, bâtir un Canada fort. Il est évident que les États-Unis ne sont plus un partenaire fiable. Il se peut qu'avec les négociations compréhensives, on puisse rétablir un élément de confiance, mais il n'y aura pas de retour en arrière. Le prochain gouvernement et tous ceux qui suivront aura une relation fondamentalement différente avec les États-Unis. Coming to terms with this sobering reality is the first step to taking necessary actions to defend our nation. Our biggest challenge as a country is becoming the most urgent. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we must fundamentally reimagine our economy. We will need to ensure that Canada can succeed in a drastically different world. The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away.
Hi, Tonda McCharles, Toronto Star. Can you be more specific about what your counter plan is next week when the auto tariffs come in? Specifically, how much in terms of tariff measures you're going to take on what portion of American goods and what non-tariff measures you'll use?
So, thanks for the question. And it goes a bit back to the previous question, if I may just expand on my answer to that. This is a negotiation. It's in part a negotiation where we know certain things, and we know that there was going to be an initiative on automobiles. It was brought forward to yesterday. It was expected around the same time as the reciprocal tariffs on the 2nd of April. Those initiatives, just to be clear, apply to all countries in the world. Right? So it's not unique in and of versus Canada or versus Mexico. We have the best deal of a bad deal is the way I would term it within what the Americans have proposed. The second is that we know that there are going to be these reciprocal tariffs, as you referenced in your question, on the 2nd of April, as well as there are potential tariffs, or likely tariffs, I would put it, with respect to other, quote, strategic sectors to the Americans, forestry, lumber, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors. There was a comma after that. I'm sorry, it was a very long set of conditions, but it was to set up the point, which is that we have a number of measures that we can take in response to those initiatives. In our judgment, certainly my judgment, it doesn't make sense when there's a series of U.S. initiatives that are going to come in relatively rapid succession to respond to each of them. We're going to know a lot more in a week, and we will respond then. And in a negotiation, it doesn't make sense to tip your hand and say what you're going to do going forward.
Question: what do you think about President Trump threatening Canada with more tariffs if Canada works with the EU on countermeasures?
Well, look, we're a sovereign nation. We take our own decisions. I take note of his comments, nothing more.
Can we sustain an auto industry without the United States?
We can sustain an auto industry with the U.S. having tariffs, with access to other markets, provided we engage very deliberately in partnership, government, business, labor, to reimagine the auto sector and retool that auto sector. And that's very much what we're putting on the table, we're engaged with doing. It's part of the reason why I was in Windsor and through southwestern Ontario yesterday. That's part of the reason why I was meeting with the president of Unifor to how do we work together with labor on exactly this issue. But I'll go back to what I said a moment ago, and this is a key message for Canadians. We are going to have to do some things very differently. We're going to have to make some big changes, but we can make those big changes. We do have options. We do have agency. We do have power. We do have the resources, particularly if we work together. And so there is a big silver lining in this situation. We didn't ask for this fight. We've got it, and we're going to fight back. We're going to protect workers in the short term. But we're taking the lesson. We have to look after ourselves. We have to build Canada strong.